Declining theatre attendance, rising ticket prices, disappointing box office returns, shrinking theatrical windows, and now major studio buyouts by streaming giants.
That's right.
It's fair to say that 2025 has been a rough old year for Tinseltown, for movie theatres, for audiences, and the entire movie industry. But here's the thing, these aren't bugs anymore, they're features. Features of a changing entertainment landscape, a changing culture, and a changing perception of what films even mean to us now. The recent news that Netflix have officially won the bidding war to buy out Warner Brothers and their entire catalogue of IPs seems to—
That is crazy. Like, I didn't even know Netflix was this big.
Have thrown the entire industry into a tailspin. Damn man, they've even petitioned the dreaded Orange Man to intervene and block the deal, as if the fucking White House has got any say over corporate mergers. The major fear in Hollywood is that Netflix will gradually move away from the theatrical model and transition movies almost entirely to streaming.
I think that is what's going to happen, actually. Because a lot of people don't go to movie theaters anymore because it's too expensive. If movie theaters were more reasonably priced, I think you'd see more people going to them.
And well, they probably should be afraid of that, because I'm pretty sure that's the plan all along. But this isn't just the actions of a single streaming giant that wants to destroy movie theaters purely for shits and giggles. It's a simple reflection of the reality facing the movie industry now. A reality that's been knocking on the door of Hollywood with increasing volume and declining patience for years now, and isn't going to be put off for much longer. It's time for some harsh truths, dear viewer, and the drinker is the one to administer them.
I think another big thing that's happened is that a lot of people, this is going to sound really, really bad. A lot of people don't have the attention span for movies anymore. They don't. People have been having their brain microwaved by Instagram Reels and TikToks for the last 5 years. And now they can't sit down and watch a movie. They don't want to sit down and do that for like 2 hours.
The movie experience as we knew it is dying. It's not in a temporary slump. It's not just going through a bad spell right now. It doesn't need to hang in there until things pick up again. And you can't keep blaming it on fucking COVID.
It's all bullshit. All of it.
The fact is, it's not going to get better.
I think it's expensive. It's just too expensive to watch a movie in a movie theater, and everything now is also, everything's expensive now. Like, if you're doing anything, it's probably over fucking priced. And then a lot of movie theaters are zoos, so you have a bunch of people like the Minecraft chicken jockey shit, and obviously that doesn't happen everywhere, but I bet there's people talking in movie theaters, they're on their phones, you know, they're fucking around, and so it's annoying to watch. The food and the drinks are massively overpriced, and they say, oh, well, that's to pay for the price of the theater. Well, that doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't matter to, like, the customer. Like, you're creating a business rationalization, but the customer doesn't give a shit about your business rationalization. At the end of the day, they've got to pay a lot of extra money for food that they don't have.
What we're seeing now are the final stages of a process that started decades ago. To understand it, let us discuss the theatrical movie experience as we know it today,
let's see
we?
it.
Now, imagine for a second that you're a typical American family man with a wife and 2 kids. You work a slightly unfulfilling corporate job that teenage you would probably be horrified by, but hey, it pays the bills, so whatever, I guess. And yeah, the sex is more of a predictable weekly ritual now than an exciting experience to look forward to, and you're harbouring a growing suspicion that a divorce could be on the cards once the kids have flown the nest and there's nothing left to hold the 2 of you together. Worry too much about that right now. For today, at least, you want to take the family out to the movies. So you drive for 30 minutes in heavy traffic to get to your local theatre. You buy the tickets, which cost like $20 each, because of course the kids just have to see the film in IMAX. Then you have to buy overpriced drinks and snacks because nobody can just sit through a 2-hour movie without shoveling a constant stream of food and drink down their throats.
So you're basically dropping over $100 just to watch a movie.
Then you take your seats, which smell a bit weird and have a suspiciously sticky patch around the crotch area that hasn't been cleaned, but let's not worry too much about that. And oh dear, it seems like there's a bunch of teenagers sat right behind you. What are the odds, eh?
Putting their feet on your fucking chair. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope you like dropping, because you're going to be hearing them talk about every single detail of their lives throughout the entire movie. But hey, it's just part of the theatre experience, right? Oh yeah, and half the people around you have their phones out, 1 or 2 are are watching TikTok videos with the volume turned way up, and one guy...
Bro, I think they should just make that illegal. Like, if you're watching videos and you're like, it's same as like having speakers. Like, if you are listening to something on your speakers in a public space, you need to go to jail. I get so fucking annoyed by that. And so does everybody else, by the way. Everybody hates this. No one likes it.
Guy's having a full-on argument with his girlfriend on speakerphone. But hey, it's just part of the experience, am I right?
Of course.
So you settle in as the lights go down, and you try to ignore the teenagers behind you, and the people who are still filtering in and tripping over people because the lights are off now, because it's time for trailers.
Oh,
come on! Well, actually,
I never minded the trailers in movie theaters. I really didn't. Maybe other people did, but I didn't think it was a big deal. It was like, and maybe it's because I just have gone to movies like my whole life, like except for obviously recently. Like the trailers are fun because I'd want to see what new movies comes out. But I guess like now, because everybody knows because they can just look it up on YouTube, like seeing trailers come out in a movie theater is probably a lot different now than it was in like 2003.
Time for the commercials first. Usually for luxury cars you're never going to be able to afford. Then after 15 minutes or so, you're deemed worthy to watch the trailers. Then another 20 minutes after that, it's finally movie time. But oh no, now your 5-year-old daughter decides that she really needs to go to the bathroom because all that soda has to go somewhere, right? So you stumble your way to the end of the row, tripping over feet and pissing off everyone else around you in the process, and you take her outside so she can go for a piss, and eventually you make it back to your seat, and yeah, you've missed the first 10 minutes of the movie now, but hey, it's all part of the experience, right? So
I mean, I don't see a problem with that, but I do think you're right, is that like, I mean, not being able to just pause it if you have to like have emergency or something like that, and I think also this is another thing, is that the always on nature of like, I don't know, people's lives now. There are so many people that are like on call in one way or another that they don't want to be involved in something for like 2 hours where they're not able to respond to something if they're needed. It creates like a sense of anxiety. I think that's very common.
You finally settle down to watch the film and you try to ignore the gossiping teenagers and the people on their phones and the stomach churning sound of food getting shoveled into faces and the smell of sweaty unwashed bodies and just concentrate on the pure cinema experience.
Sure.
Wait, isn't this just a remake of an animated movie you saw when you were a kid?
Son of a bitch!
I mean, yeah, it is. Like, in my opinion, I never really minded going to the movie theater. Like, I didn't. I was like, okay, well, we're going to go to the movies. And it's like, you know what we never did? We never went to the movie theater to watch a movie that I wanted to see. It would always be a movie that my girlfriend wanted to see. So we had to go watch the new Aladdin. We had to go watch some fucking horror movie about a nun. Like, I don't give a shit about this. It's fucking retarded.
Anyway, about 3 hours and several bathroom breaks later, you finally make it home, tired, mildly pissed off, and about $100 out of pocket, and you find yourself asking the question, what the fuck was the point in any of that? So with all that in mind, is it any wonder that more and more people are just opting out of movie theaters altogether? Like, be honest with yourself for a second. Unless you're a genuine cinephile who needs to see everything on the biggest screen imaginable, is it really worth the time, the hassle, the expense, the irritation, and the discomfort just to see something that will probably be available on streaming in a few weeks anyway?
Okay, it's a lot of money. That's the problem. It's a lot of money now. And I think people are just like, see, I don't think anybody really understands how little disposable income the average person has now. Like, because there's like maybe like 20-30% of the population that's like very well off and things are okay. But like that other 70%, at least 50%, are just totally fucked, man. They're totally fucked.
Which brings me neatly along to my second point. The appeal of the movie experience was always in the scale and spectacle, because until pretty recently, nothing in your home could ever hope to compete with it. Not anymore, however. These days, like $1,000 or less will get you a pretty serious home cinema setup.
Maybe,
a setup that's ready to go whenever you want it.
I had a friend that would steal those out of the fucking, out of the school. Like, he just put them in his backpack and walk out.
where you don't have to drive for half an hour just to get there, or shell out for overpriced snacks, or sit through endless trailers and commercials for the privilege of watching something that you've already paid for, or be forced to share the experience with a bunch of strangers who can spoil your enjoyment at any time they want, where you can pause the movie whenever you want and never miss a second of it, and most importantly, where the whole thing doesn't set you back more than $100 a pop.
Yeah, that's the main thing to me. It's the expense. Like, I mean, the movie theater being annoying, like, I think that if you go to a movie theater, like there are movie theaters, like you guys probably have some in like in like where you live, where there's like maybe one or two that's like a slightly more upscale movie theater where they actually say, no, you can't be on your fucking phone the whole time, or no, you can't just be walking around talking the whole time. Like we have Alamo Drafthouse, and there's another brand that's like similar to that, right? But they're expensive, right? They're expensive, exactly. And like if you go to like your everyday movie theater, right? That's what you get. Like you're going there for that experience. And so like if you go there and you're mad that everybody's not behaving, like my dad said this is what happened whenever he was a kid. He said people would just go to movie theaters because you could turn in like fucking, like, you know, he was born like 3,000 years ago, right? So like you could turn in like 5 bottle caps and you got to see a movie back then, right? Or some bullshit. And so anyway, he would do this, and he'd do this, and everybody would be there, and they would be in the movie theater, and he'd say they were throwing popcorn at each other, fighting, jumping over the seats, just exactly what like 14-year-olds are doing now. And really, if you go to a movie theater, that's what you get. That's not interrupting the experience. That is the experience.
A trade-off for sure. A trade-off between spectacle on one side and comfort and convenience on the other. And the fact is, that trade-off's getting more and more appealing for the average person every single year.
Yeah, I wonder why.
When you get right down to it, the harsh reality is that movie theaters are an outdated form of entertainment now. A holdover from the 20th century that's been propped up beyond its time by one simple philosophy.
Still have them?
More gigantic budgets, more visual effects, bigger screens, louder sound systems.
I unironically think that what they should do is move back to drive-in movie theaters, because then you don't have to deal with as much real estate, you don't have to deal with as many employees, you don't have to deal with selling concessions necessarily, the ticket prices can be lower. That's probably what they should do, is go back to drive-in movie theaters. Like, you could probably do that at a way lower overhead.
Studios and theaters have been locked into a cinematic arms race for decades now, pushing technology and spectacle as far as they could go until finally they hit an evolutionary dead end. It was always going to happen, it was just a question of when. And as it happens, the answer is now. So what does it all mean? Is
I was
this
like
the
10
end
years
of Hollywood,
old.
the end of movies, the end of the world as we know it? No, of course not. There's always going to be a demand for entertainment. That'll never change. It's just the method of delivery that's evolving. People are going to watch more movies in the comfort of their own homes.
Absolutely.
It's inevitable.
Of course.
Theatrical windows are going to get shorter and probably vanish altogether eventually, so that movies will get released simultaneously onto streaming and theatrical.
This is going to sound probably like something most people will disagree with. But I like the fact that the movies come out in movie theaters first and you can't watch them on streaming. I do. Because I think it's cool. I don't know. I do. I think it's just cool. Maybe the reason why... Same? I'm surprised. Maybe we're old, right? We're old, and like, you know, every 15-year-old is like, oh, I fucking hate this guy. No, it's the worst thing ever. But like, it's cool for a boomer. Yeah. This is an unk take. I don't know if it is or not. But ultimately, that's my opinion. I think it's cool.
Movie theaters will still exist to some extent, but just like the old musical theaters from the 19th century, they'll become a much more niche experience, reserved for film buffs and occasional big event movies that people can't afford to miss. Box office revenues are going to keep declining until eventually they become obsolete metrics,
Dune
and
3.
a film's real success will be determined by the number of hours watched on streaming.
That's one of the biggest issues, is that whenever you're measuring time spent, it's very hard to quantify the quality of that time spent. Like, for example, I would say that the hours that I spent watching Lord of the Rings in the movie theaters with my parents is like infinitely more valuable than the time that I spent watching, you know, some Netflix series in my house by myself. Like there has to be like there's very clearly a like I don't know, like they just have to redo the way that they do their business. That's what it comes down to.
And as for the studios themselves, I'd expect more and more of them to be bought over by streaming and tech giants like Netflix, Apple, and Amazon in the years ahead. Businesses that make their real money elsewhere and can easily afford to pump billions of dollars into film and TV production, even if a lot of it never actually turns a profit. Do I like where all this is going? Not really, because despite all their flaws, I think there is still something kind of special about going into a movie theater and just losing yourself in a film for a couple of hours.
That's what I think.
But pretending this stuff isn't happening or that it can be magically reversed is like telling yourself that internet cafes or public payphones or video rental stores are going to make a comeback someday. They won't, because the moment technology made these things irrelevant, the culture quickly adapted to live without them. Movie theaters are dying out, and the Hollywood system that relied on them is dying along with them. Whether something better eventually comes to replace them is anyone's guess. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
I think that there is something important about having third spaces for a cultural value. And whether those third spaces are the local Warhammer store, a record shop, a movie theater, a skate park, or something, this is important. And it's not, and the problem is that something like this is generally not a tremendously lucrative business venture. It's not something that's going to make investors excited, but it's something that you're going to grow up and you're going to realize it's gone. And one day it's like, well, wait a minute, whatever happened to the skate parks? Whatever happened to, you know, these like random record stores? Like we have like 2 or 3 in Austin. There used to be like 10 in 2011. There's a value to that. Like if I'll tell you this, like this might sound crazy, right? But like if I was like in charge of the fucking government, right? Or I could make a decision, I think that they should have like an investment fund for places like this that provide cultural experiences for people. Things like movie theaters, skate parks, and generally like third places for society. Because, like, yeah, you might not be able to get the money for it legally, or not legally, but like financially. But like maybe if the government was able to like give them a bit of money, like yeah, an arcade or something like that. Like I think that's a good use of people's money. And I know people might not agree with this, but I think it is actually. It really is. It's something that has like a intrinsic, non-quantifiable value. But it means a lot whenever you really take a step back and you think about, like, you know, for at least like for me and probably for a lot of you guys, like I grew up going to movie theaters. I grew up going to skate parks. I grew up, not skate parks as many, to be honest, but like maybe 1 or 2. You know, I grew up going to especially like card shops, right? And having these places that people can go to, I think is very core to having a textured life experience that involves other people. Because I think that now there are very few people that are really going out and interacting with each other hardly at all. Like everybody's sitting in their house on their computer by themselves. Like it's a social experience. And I think that having social experiences like that, I think that there are a lot of like second and third order effects that those social experiences create. Like, I think that they, you know, maybe fight against a degree of isolation, of alienation, of maybe people being like, you know, those like extremely like hyper political people, right? Because like a lot of people that have like very, very extreme politics are people that are generally socially isolated. Now, I'm not saying this is 100%, right? But I think that there's clearly a trend there. And I think that that's just, politics is just simply a manifestation of being extreme in general. And I think that really, if you emphasize that and you give people the ability to do that, the value to that is it's both non-existent and invaluable. It's incalculable in a way that's like a good way and also a bad way. I agree. I do. And I think I think movie theaters will always be around. Like, I think they're a lot different than, let's say, I think, what was the thing you used as an example? I forgot. Movie, like, rental places, like Blockbuster and, like, Hollywood Video. there wasn't really a culture that was attached to that. There was something that you did regularly where like you would go to your movie and you'd have to, the Be Kind rewind, and like there was a whole fucking like culture around it to an extent, but it wasn't the same as like going to a movie theater, right? Like you basically just went to the you went to the movie rental place, the Blockbuster, to just rent a movie and leave, right? That's it. There wasn't really any sort of input into it, right? So I don't know. Do you think streaming services were a bad idea? Is streaming a bad idea? No, streaming is amazing. It's great. Like, you don't want to be so reductive and so like kind of, I don't know, like against any sort of like cultural progress. Yeah, streaming is amazing. I love streaming. And I think that it's overall a good thing. But at the same time, yes, very clearly it had a negative impact on movie theaters. Yeah, movie theaters should be like parks funded by the local government, no longer a business. I don't know if I would go that far. I think that I would probably just offer certain tax write-offs and certain business expenses to be able to be funded by the government, or maybe certain types of subsidies for places that operate as third spaces for people in the world, right? Either way, the biggest line of business has always been nothing will change after the merger. Yeah, true. Netflix versus Disney, who can buy up the most properties and ruin everything that we love? Netflix owning Warner Brothers means we're another step closer to the entire entertainment industry being run like recommended for you algorithm. Well, I mean, in my opinion, that's an always has been situation. I think that's always been going on. It's not like it's new. So I don't know whether that's going to continue or whether it's going to get worse or not. But I do think that to an extent, it has gotten to, it's gotten to be pretty bad where, I mean, I've seen a lot of movie theaters around me close too.